Welcome back to Business Rockstars. Now we'll head over to the NASDAQ Entrepreneurial Center in San Francisco with Thuy Vu.
Hey there, thank you, and welcome to Scale the Wall, powered by NASDAQ Private Market. Stay private on your own terms. For more information, go to npm.com. Our guest today is Travis Katz, CEO and co-founder of Trip.com. It's an app that helps you plan your trips and discover local attractions and restaurants. It also takes it a step further by using artificial intelligence to predict your preferences. Travis, welcome.
Hi, Thuy. Thanks for having me.
Well, you are quite a globetrotter. You've been to, what, more than 60 countries?
More than 60 countries. I even met my wife on a camel safari in India. So travel's always been a passion of mine. It's something that I love to do. And so this was a very natural company for me to start in a lot of ways.
That's a great how I met my wife story. Good for
I know.
you.
That's a, camel safaris. There's a lot of beautiful women there.
And you nabbed one of them.
And I nabbed one. I know. It was amazing.
I mean, it's your love of adventure and travel what led you to start Trip.com?
Yeah, so I've been doing technology for a while. So I was one of the early guys at MySpace, and I built and ran the international business at MySpace. And so I love technology, and that was the birth of social media when we were starting that. But what I found when I was working there was that not only was I traveling for work, but I was traveling a lot on my free time. I moved over to London, and my wife and I were trying to see as much of Europe as we could. And we found that it was really, really difficult to plan trips on the internet. That it wasn't that there wasn't information out there, but it was almost that there was too much information. So if we'd pick a place we hadn't been before, like the south of France, we'd look on the map and say, okay, well, let's figure out where we're going to go. And we would find ourselves spending an entire Saturday in front of the computer without really getting to the answer and just feeling completely overwhelmed. And so we thought there has to be a better way to do it. How can you make this more personal? Take some of the lessons that we were learning from MySpace about personalization and making stuff relevant to the individual and apply that to the travel space.
So in effect, sort of a more curated selection.
Yeah, the idea is that every big travel site that was out there, all the early guys, were focused on the same model, which is every person, whether you're a starving student or a luxury traveler, was seeing the exact same list of places in the same order, the same reviews in the same order. And the model was, hey, we've got a whole bunch of information, and you, the traveler, can spend your weekend digging through our information to find what you're looking for. And we thought, why don't we turn that model on their head? Why don't we start with you? What do you care about? Are you a foodie? Are you into nightlife? Do you have kids? Are you single? And then build the experience around you and show you the content that's relevant to you and help you cut out the noise of the stuff that's not.
And so you mentioned MySpace, your work there, and you've worked both in tech and economic development. You've been with Fox Interactive Media as well. You spent some time at the World Bank. How do all those experiences in the aggregate affect and influence what you do now at Trip.com?
I think for me, one of the big threads that I followed, because I have done a lot of different things, is the idea about really trying to understand human psychology and how do people make decisions and how do you provide them with better services. And I think we're living in this world where people are increasingly bombarded with information. We've got our phones on all the time. We're listening to the radio in the car. We're getting phone calls. And you really don't have that much space for quiet thinking and contemplation. And so as technology is speeding up life, we're trying to figure out how can we shorten the amount of time you have to spend looking at your phone or on your computer and get you to the answers quickly. And that's something that, back when I was at the World Bank, I was working on rural water supply systems in Africa and how to get people, better systems. But a lot of it was, again, about how do people make decisions? How do they know what's the right kind of thing to invest in or not to invest in? How do you motivate people to make sure those things are maintained? And so that's sort of the thread that I've followed, and it's an area for me that I've been always really interested in.
So what are the 3 best pieces of advice you would offer to an entrepreneur about starting or growing a business?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of them. I think the biggest 3, if I were to pick 3, one would be to really find the white space, figure out where is there something that nobody else is doing, as opposed to starting in head on, with a bigger existing incumbent. Where's there an area that they're not focused on that you could own that niche? And is it defensible? Because if you have a good idea, they're going to copy you. And so you have to figure out how can you defend that niche and at least get enough traction to get in. So that's one. The second is really, really testing your idea and validating that what you were wanting to build is something people really want. So you need to talk to a lot of people you trust and ask them for really honest ideas. A lot of entrepreneurs, I see young entrepreneurs will fall in love with an idea that they would love to use for themselves, but they are an edge case, you know, and most people just don't care enough. And I think one thing we learned at MySpace, and I've seen this again and again, is most people are pretty lazy. Like I said, they don't have much time, and so if they have to work really hard for your service, they're not going to use it. You have to figure out what is something that they're really motivated, and really try to validate that before you start, because once you're committed, it's harder to back out. Yeah. And then I think the third thing is just stay adaptable, because whatever you think you're going to build, the world changes around you. There's a lot of pieces that are out of your control, and if you can continue to adapt your company to the sort of changing waters of the market, you're much more likely to be successful.
We'll come back and talk more with Travis Katz about some of the biggest obstacles he's faced and how he managed to scale the wall to success. Scale the Wall is powered by NASDAQ Private Market. Stay private on your own terms. You can always find more information, of course, by going to npm.com. I'm Thuy Vu, and this is Business Rockstars.